I never thought I'd be the kind of man who would discover his wife's betrayal. Our marriage was a fortress. Or so. I believed Lisa and I had been together for nearly 10 years. We had built a beautiful life, a cozy home, a tight-knit group of friends, and what I thought was an unshakable trust. But that illusion shattered the day I found her phone buzzing incessantly on the kitchen counter. It wasn't the notifications themselves that caught my attention. It was the name that flashed on the screen. Dan from work. I knew Dan. He was Lisa's co-worker, a man I had met at a few office parties. He seemed harmless enough, polite, maybe a little too charming. But I didn't think much of it at the time. However, the sheer frequency of the messages set off a quiet alarm in my mind. Curiosity turned into suspicion when I saw the preview of one message last night was, "Unforgettable. Can't wait to see you again." My stomach dropped. I stared at the phone hoping I had read it wrong. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. But the more I scrolled, the worse it got. Messages filled with intimate details, plans to meet up, and confessions of affection that made my blood boil. My hand shook as I put the phone down, my mind spinning with rage and heartbreak I didn't confront her right away. No, that would have been too easy. Instead, I decided to gather every bit of evidence I could over the next few weeks. I became a ghost in my own home. I installed a small camera in the living room, synced her phone to an old tablet of mine, and tracked her every move with a GPS app. I wanted the truth laid bare, no room for denials, no chance of gaslighting. What I discovered crushed me. Their meetings were frequent, and brazen lunches that turned into hotel rendezvous text messages, dripping with lust and whispered phone conversations she took when she thought I wasn't paying attention. The betrayal was complete, and it was so destroying. However, in that destruction, a new version of me began to emerge, a colder, more calculating man. I wasn't going to yell, scream, or plead. I wasn't going to let her know how much she had crushed me. Instead, I prepared my retribution. If Lisa thought I'd never find out, she was about to see just how wrong she was. The plan came together over the course of a month. First, I started quietly liquidating assets. Our shared savings account was drained and transferred into a private account in my name. The house, which had been purchased with my inheritance, was solely in my name. I met with a lawyer and updated my will, ensuring Lisa wouldn't see a penny. If anything happened to me, I also began taking away sentimental goods, family heirlooms, important documents, and cherished keepsakes, sending them to a storage unit I didn't just want. To terminate things, I wanted to leave an impression she'd never forget. On the day I chose to execute my game plan, I called in sick to work. Lisa was at the office, probably spending half a day sneaking glances at Dan and texting him under the desk. That gave me the time I needed to transform our home into a stage for the final act of our marriage. I started by clearing the house of all furniture and decor, room by room. I stripped it bare. Movers I had hired in secret arrived promptly at 10 a.m., loading everything into a truck that would take it to a storage facility in another city. By the afternoon, the house was empty. All that remained were the walls, the floors, and a single dining table with 2 chairs in the middle of the living room. On the table, I placed a manila envelope and a single red rose. Before I left, I made one final touch using a small projector. I set up a slideshow to play on the living room wall. It was a curated collection of every incriminating photo, text, message, and video I had gathered over the past month, a damning highlight reel of her betrayal. Satisfied, I locked the door, walked away, and headed to a nearby hotel to wait. The text I sent her was simple: "Come home, we need to talk." She arrived around Sayoripa Ma'am, I saw her from my car. As she pulled into the driveway, Lisa's silhouette paused at the door. Probably noticing the eerie emptiness through the frosted glass panels, she stepped inside. And I imagined her confusion as she took in the barren house. Then the Slide SL show began to play. I waited exactly 5 minutes before entering. When I walked in, Lisa was sitting at the table staring at the envelope in front of her. Her face was pale, her hands trembling. The slideshow was still playing behind, her bathing the room in an intermittent glow of betrayal. "What is this?" she stammered, tears streaming down her face. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I took the seat opposite her, leaned back, and folded my arms. "It's everything you thought I'd never find out." Her eyes darted to the projector, then back to me. "This isn't what it looks like. I can explain. Save it." I cut her off. "The evidence speaks for itself. Every lie, every excuse, every time you looked me in the eye and told me you loved me, it's all there. I don't need your explanations, Lisa. I need you to open the envelope." She hesitated, but her trembling hands broke. The seal inside was a single sheet of paper. Divorce papers already signed by me. "I've had enough," I said. "You've disrespected me, our marriage, and everything we built together. There's nothing left to say, but where is everything? The furniture? My clothes?" She asked, her voice rising in panic. "Gone," I replied. "The house is mine. Everything in it was either mine or packed away. You have nothing here anymore." She broke down sobbing uncontrollably. Part of me felt a pang of guilt, but it was quickly overshadowed by the satisfaction of seeing her face, the consequences of her actions. "Where am I supposed to go?" she wailed. "That's not my concern anymore," I said coldly. "You're free to go wherever you want with whomever you want." I stood up, walked to the door, and paused before leaving. "Oh, and one more thing," I said, turning back to her. "Dan won't be much help. I forwarded everything to HR at your office. I'm sure they'll have a lot of questions for both of you tomorrow." Her sobs turned into cries of despair as I walked out the door, clicking shut behind me. I didn't look back that night. I slept better than I had in weeks. The weight of betrayal had been lifted, replaced by the satisfaction of knowing I had taken control of my life again. Lisa's adultery had broken me, but in that shattering, I had found a strength I didn't know I possessed. The following weeks were a flurry of legal proceedings and tying up loose ends. Lisa moved out of town, her reputation in shambles. As for me, I started fresh. I bought new furniture, connected with old friends, and even joined a hiking group to fill my weekends. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again. And as I stood on the porch of my newly furnished home one evening, sipping a glass of whiskey and watching the sunset, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace.